Hello. Hello.
Hello!
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that all video. But when discussing either musicals or video games, it is the standard to go over the top. As a slight digression, that's why I wasn't big on Les Miserables starring Hugh Jackman, because there was no difference between it and the amateur stage production that I had seen live. Shouldn't say amateur, my aunt was in it. Anyway, with that little intro, you can probably guess today's suggestion is combining the genres of musical with the medium of video games. Originally this was called Video Game the Musical, but that setup is more Mario on Broadway. Musical the video game says that this is a video game. My obsession with language and the meaning of words coming through. Now let me state very clearly, I'm a pretty decent singer. I know guitar and dabbled on a couple other instruments. I like to consider myself a wordsmith. I have never claimed to be a good songwriter. So when I revealed that I've actually written an intro song for this premise, take that with a very big pinch of salt. So the game opens on your classic red curtain, and me in my jester outfit and carrying a lute, maybe, sings the intro song. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, lend me your ears, eyes and hands. For tonight's performance is a special endurance where you are leading the band. With the controls you possess, together we'll progress through an opera of human and God. Now I'll tell you the history of this story through interactive monologue. Now looking back, I'm not that happy with the last line. It goes from barely a rhyme to big words that make me sound intelligent. But that's just a creator's nitpick. Anyway, as the curtains open, I run through the events as I sing them in a stage set made of cardboard and scaffolding. Like Super Mario 3! So going back to what I said earlier, I'm not singing the rest of this song because I'm not overly happy with the melody that I came up with, and not all the lyrics are even written. The idea just fell to the wayside before I finished it. So this is just a dramatic reading. A long time ago, when the earth was still forming, and danger could strike anywhere without warning, creatures were born with wings of enormous expanse, and breath that could wipe out all life across the land. These beasts were called dragons, and they came to spread fear. Something rhyming with fear. But there was one, a knight of such skill and such that any monster he dared face was sure to meet their end. Samson the Fearless, humanity's savior, made many a dragon's head fall. In hopes to extinguish this reign of hellfire, he challenged the queen of them all. He braved and he battled, she furied and flamed. They struggled for year upon year, but then, injured and weak, just before his defeat, both Samson and the dragons disappeared. Nobody knows what happened that day, how all the bloodshed did cease, but from then to this day, 10,000 years stay an era of prosperity and peace. There are those with concern the dragons will return to terrorize mankind once more. And this, my dear friends, is where our tale begins, with a girl simply called Eleanor. As I sing the last word, Eleanor, the camera goes from the set into the backdrop and enters our story. As I perform the crescendo of Hunchback of Notre Dame, where it's bells, 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 bells of Notre Dame. And then later on there's this big daring escape with your main characters She jumps out a stained glass window, and it just slowly pans back to see her companion captured. Big dramatic moment, end of Act 1. The bulk of the gameplay that I thought of is from the new Rayman games, as well as that moment in Moana where she's running from the very top of the hill all the way down the island to the beach, singing the whole time. The big twist with all the dragons is they somehow became human, and our main character Eleanor is one of their descendants. Eleanor Targaryen. But as far as story goes, that's all I've really got. I never developed it much past the intro. Like, I could suggest for you a gender-flipped fantasy version of Good, the Bad and the Ugly, inspired by this poster I have. But when I say that, I just mean the concept of three people fighting each other, not a straight-up remake, because those kinds of remakes are divisive at best. So barring any extra development for this project, I will spend the rest of this video giving short reviews on the media pieces I found in research. I mean, almost every adventure game has one or two puzzles about music, the timing or rhythm or memory, but these examples revolve around music in the core gameplay or core presentation. And I like that experimentation, so I'm suggesting more of it here. And a few of these are just short experimental indie games that anyone can buy online and play pretty quickly. Because I'm on YouTube, I don't expect that I'm talking to someone from Ubisoft or something. No offense. Firstly, I've got two musicians who regularly do video game tributes or reviews through their music. One is Gavin Dunn, aka Miracle of Sound, usually rock and roll, but very in tune with the core style of the game he's singing about. And the other is Rebecca Mays, who used to do straight up reviews. I think she's moved away from video games more recently, but I still do enjoy her music. Dominic Pemblemoose. Gameplay wise, it's just an average point and click adventure game, but when it's also a claymation musical starring a non-binary protagonist, I think the creativity was directed elsewhere. And I specifically wanted to mention something they do with dialogue. The characters are switching between talking and singing most of the time, and the background music is constantly playing through the scene. So when a singing part comes up, the game freezes until the music is in position to continue in time. Finding Teddy, another point and click adventure game with a communication system through music. Each note is related to a letter of the alphabet, and each song spells out a word like happy or friend or death. Yeah, heads up, this isn't a kid's game. Wonder Song. A bit more well known, but still interesting to look at because of how the one mechanic is used for everything in the game and how singing is the solution to everything. And then, as I mentioned before, the new Rayman games, particularly Legends, where you're running through the chaos of these songs, which I have played about 100 times each. Thanks for watching. This is my verbal declaration that I will not sue anyone for using the previous outline to create their own work, regardless of how much fame or money you might get from it. I'm definitely not the kind of artist who thinks I can own a concept. However, I would like to see what comes out of this video just for comparison and curiosity. If you do make something or find an existing piece that's similar, please let me know through Twitter or Facebook or email, and I'll happily check it out. And if you want to see the ideas I am working on for myself, please visit my Patreon page for samples and previews, no payment required. Happy creating, Bart Riley out! Additional idea. I bought this conductor's baton a few years ago while I was developing a character called the Media Maestro. He was a review critic in the style of Channel Awesome presenters, back when I was really into that and wanted my own persona to talk about movies and games and anything I wanted. And since then I have learned to accept myself.